And the Oscar for rhyming fillator with tater goes to
the Black Pearl AI Studios.
I don't think I that's nightmare fuel. Not sure if I'm going to be able to unsee that.
No, you can't unsee it. Once you've seen it, here's the most horrifying thing, Maya. The original cut had several scenes that even we were like, no, bro, that's too much. Imagine what it takes to reach that level with the Lincoln Project, folks, where we're like, no, that's too much. That's too much. Donald Trump in lingerie is pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, they might have that clip actually somewhere. I'm assuming in compromise. I think that they.
Let's put it this way: there was a clip that inadvertently recapitulated an alleged event in Donald Trump's younger days in a Moscow hotel room, but further, I shall say not.
Yeah, so we're going to talk. We might talk about that and more. The breakdown.
Yes, the breakdown is here. It's here
now. So much has happened since we last saw each other, Rick. I can't.
So I guess that speech that fight in the Oval Office between Trump and Zelensky like a year and a half ago.
Feels like it. It feels like that. That in Trumpy, I don't even know what we call them. What do we call these kind of years? Is it the like in fascist years? Like how do we measure these years?
I mean, I think they're Doge years. Looks like dog days. We have Doge years. That wasn't even a bit, folks. We just did that.
That was good. I was going to say
that I think they're Doge years. I mean, we are compressing so much into such a tiny space, and things are happening so very, very quickly all the time that it feels like that week ago was a month ago, because so much has gone wrong for Donald Trump and for America in the meantime that it's hard to imagine. But here we are on a Thursday night, and the world has turned to shit in Donald Trump's hands as he went out of last Friday thinking, well, I've shown that upstart, and now he's thinking, oh dear God, the economy's crashing. I'm going to get blamed for it. Europe is rearming. They didn't take the bait. Mexico and Canada spanked him like he was a naughty schoolboy. And pretty much the world has been slipping out of his control the entire week.
Yeah, and he seemed to try to take a command of things. That was his goal during his joint address. So that's the most recent thing that happened. We need to talk about it.
Yeah.
I am a Democrat. You all know that. We got to talk about the ping pong paddles, or the paddles, the church paddles, the fans. I don't even know.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. No,
exactly.
Bigger, do better, do splashier, do more exciting. I said this on another show today. The real trick here is not to come up with a cutesy dress code or an accessory. The real decision is to have Hakeem Jeffries on TV every day kicking the living shit out of Donald Trump, saying, you are firing VA suicide counselors. You are firing air traffic controllers. You are firing the people who will fight the wildfires in California and in Nevada and in Oregon next year. You are firing people in the Hurricane Tracking Center in Florida. You are firing the hurricane hunters as hurricane season is about to begin. You are hurting America every day, you orange-chode chuckle fuck. Instead, it's like, we're going to have little cute signs. This is a lie. Musk steals. Okay, fine. I don't hate it, but it's like, what sorority are you bidding for?
Oh, I hate it. Let me tell you how much I hate it, Rick. This is how much I hate it. one of the things that we talk about all the time is cognitive dissonance. And it drives me absolutely nuts that Democrats scream that democracy is in danger, but then the actions never back it up. This is why I love Michelle Obama not showing up for the inauguration, because that speaks to how she feels about the moment. And so people can get behind that. Like, it is right now, Republicans are energizing their base because they're like, hey, the country's in danger. We have to save it so we can throw out all of these democratic norms. And their base is like, yes, that makes sense.
Yes, please do that. Please do more of that.
Right? And Democrats are like, the country's in danger. Matching outfits. Like,
matching outfits.
Like, it's mind-boggling to me that they expect people to get behind that. And so I hate it. That's the fact of it.
Their desire to not have to fight in a way that changes the optics of what they think they should be is so powerful, and such as it's like suicidal in a lot of ways politically, because they don't want to admit that they're in a gunfight. They don't want to admit that they're in a gunfight with bad people whose goal is not to defeat them electorally, but to put them in prison, whose goal is not to have an election where it's contested over ideas, but to not have a fucking election at all. So again, this idea that you are dealing with the old, my honorable colleague on the other side of the aisle, you are not. Yeah. That is not this world anymore, people. No. This is not the place you live anymore. I know everybody would love that. It'd be great. We're going to fight this out about policy. We're going to propose a 32.5% marginal tax rate, and they're going to propose a 29.1% marginal tax rate, and we'll just have a feisty discussion about policy. No. Cute outfits do not do it.
Yeah, you can't bring a fashion show to the fascist show. But
boom!
I'm so proud of myself for that one.
Ow! Scorching hot, Maya.
But to that end, like, at least Al Green was doing something, okay? Like, he was actually creating a stir. Yeah. Like, I wanted that to be like a wand. Like, I wanted at the end of that.
I wanted it to be like a Dungeons and Dragons staff of lightning, like.
Like, where's Gandalf when you need
I'm gonna get in trouble now.
Can we say that? No, this is wizardry. We can say anything in wizardry, I think.
Yes.
All's fair in politics and wizardry. But what to me, when I opened up social media this morning and I saw that 10 Democrats sided with Republicans to censure him, I was like, what message are we trying to send?
Can I just say something to our Democratic friends? And I mean this as a Republican who used to beat the living shit out of your candidates all the time. And I'm just going to tell you some truth. There is a reason why Republicans did not say a goddamn word about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert screaming in the House. There's a reason for that. Because they understand, what did you do today, Democrats? What did you 10 Democrats do? Including some Democrats on that list that I like. Okay? Some that I like. What you did was show the Republicans your soft underbelly once again. You showed them you had limits. You showed them you had fears of optics. The correct response was to say, fuck you, Mike Johnson, and to sit there all day during the hearing or during the time in the House and say, we'd like to propose instead of vote on DOJ cutting $800 billion from Medicaid. We'd like to propose a vote on the illegality of Elon Musk stealing every American's Social Security information and tax information. We'd like to propose a resolution condemning the closure of Ebola and malaria and AIDS treatment programs through USAID. We'd like to propose the trick is not to play their game. And the Democrats just walked right into it, like right into a fucking buzzsaw, and sat there and went, this is such bad. Who fucking cares? Okay. First off, no one's going to remember this shit come election day in 2026. What they are going to remember is that you were too gutless to stand up and defend one of your own. Did you like it? Was it high decorum? No. But you know what? I don't want to hear any fucking lectures about decorum in the House of Representatives when Marjorie Taylor Greene is wearing a fucking baseball hat. I don't want to hear any lectures about decorum when hand job Sally there, Lauren Boebert, is like pumping up in the audience, like whoop whoop whoop, like she's at a Juggalo concert. I don't want to hear anything about decorum from people who sat there over and over again, leering and jeering and screaming at Joe Biden when he was president and just giving addresses. Okay, I don't want to hear it. I don't fucking care. You are in a fight to the death. These people are not your old colleagues. They don't just happen to have a few policy disagreements with you. The existential nature of this fight escapes Democratic leadership over and over again. And unless you understand, you should think about it every day. You should think about it every day. That those people that you're in Congress with right now, if Donald Trump ordered them to start stabbing you on the floor of the House, they would start stabbing you. If he ordered them to start shooting you on the floor of the House, they would start shooting you. You are not in a normal world. These people are a dangerous authoritarian and fascist movement. They are following a man who is unstable and dangerous and dictator curious. One part dick, one part tater, as the lyrics to the song said. And they are going to obey him no matter what. If you don't understand that Americans perceive strength in a certain way right now in our politics, they will follow a bad, wrong leader if he's a bad, strong leader. And right now, Democrats do not have a forward-facing, strong leader who's out there every day with the middle finger extended in one hand and the fist clenched in the other. Learn to fight.
I guess now would not be a good time to talk about the rebuttal then.
Look, Slotkin was fine. She was fine. It wasn't bad. It was fine.
We need
but it was written before. It was written before Trump spoke. Okay. It was obviously written in advance, which I get it. You're a speechwriter. You got to do that thing. And she did connect on a few of these issues, and I like her. Okay. And I think she's got a great future ahead of her. But again, there's an old rule about dog fighting. When you're at a dog fight, you want to see some fight in the dog. You want to see people who are as angry as Americans are. And I don't think maybe that's not just her thing. I don't think she calibrated to the intensity of emotions that Americans are feeling right now about what's happening to their country.
Well, we have a clip. Let's
play it.
Take a look and see.
Because here's the thing. Today's world is deeply interconnected. Migration, cyber threats, AI, environmental destruction, terrorism. One nation cannot face these issues alone. We need friends in all corners, and our safety depends on it. President Trump loves to say peace through strength. That's actually a line he stole from Ronald Reagan. But let me tell you, after the spectacle that just took place in the Oval Office last week, Reagan must be rolling in his grave. We all want an end to the war in Ukraine. But Reagan understood that true strength required America to combine our military and economic might with moral clarity. And that scene in the Oval Office wasn't just a bad episode of reality TV. It summed up Trump's whole approach to the world. He believes in cozying up to dictators like Vladimir Putin and kicking our friends like the Canadians in the teeth. He sees American leadership as merely a series of real estate transactions. As a Cold War kid, I'm thankful it was Reagan and not Trump in office in the 1980s. Trump would have lost us the Cold War. Donald Trump's actions suggest that in his heart, he doesn't believe we're an exceptional nation. He clearly doesn't think we should lead the world.
Oh, I'm sorry. I fell asleep. What happened?
It's fine. Again, it's fine. But do you need fine or do you need war?
Okay, here's the thing, Rick. I'm in touch with lots of just regular average people who aren't super dialed into politics. And if they even see a rebuttal like this, when they see it, it doesn't match the urgency of the moment. And that is what's so dangerous, because it truly is sending the message that it's like, hey guys, I'm just going to read off this thing that was written. I would rather have her hair on fire, like just like she's come out of like the burning house and is like, I've been in there. It's really bad. If we don't stop this, it's going to light up the entire neighborhood. Like that's the kind of energy I need from this moment. And the fact that like, I get it. Moderates need that energy, that like, okay, here is a steady hand and a steady
We're all
direction
going
that
to
we are
work
going
this
to
out
go
together.
in. But that is not what the people are asking for. And so it's really important right now for Democrats to listen to the people. That's something that they can learn from comedians, because comedians get that real-time feedback and they know what is working, and
Right.
they redirect based on what's working and what's not working. Right now, I just feel like Democrats aren't listening to their people because everybody's angry. Democrats are angry. Even Republicans are angry, showing up at town halls. And now is the time to harness that anger and use it. Like, driving me
Look,
nuts.
I understand. I understand the powerful instinct in human beings is to try to moderate your tonality so you don't sound crazy. Because I know I sound crazy sometimes. I get it. It's fine. I'm not crazy, but I get why people ratchet back. But two things should be understood. One, this is national television. Now, why do we remember Katie Britt's performance from last year? Because she made it so over the top and cuckoo that people mocked her for it, but they remembered it. A lot of people who give responses to, say, of union speeches or joint congressional addresses kind of disappear into the woodwork. You remember the really bad ones. You remember Marco Rubio drinking his little bottle of water like a tiny gnome in the forest. But you don't always remember the ones that don't break through. And we are in a moment where Americans are desperately looking for people to lead them out of Trumpism. 30% aren't, but the rest of America understands that the world is burning down around us because he is an arsonist. They are beginning to see and feel and recognize the fierce anger that is out there. You know why these Republicans aren't doing town halls? Because they're now afraid, for the first time in 10 years, they're afraid of their voters more than they're afraid of Donald Trump. They're afraid that people have called their bullshit at long last more than they're afraid of Donald Trump putting out a mean tweet about them. That's why they're hiding from their voters. Okay. Look, I like Slotkin again. I want to say that again. I like her. I think she's smart as hell. I think she's good at what she does. I think she's got a great future ahead of her. I don't think she was well served by the speechwriting tonality of this moment, because everyone knew Trump was going to go up there like a goddamn monkey in the zoo and throw shit everywhere. Everyone has watched the last month of Trump's misgovernance of America, and they know what he's doing. If I was her, every other, the speech would have basically been Trump, Elon, fuck you, and a verb over and over and over and over and over again. Because Trump and Elon are the center of America's attention space right now, the attention economy right now, and people are pissed for a reason. These guys are fucking up America. They are hurting our country. They are breaking our nation. Put them in the gun. I'm sorry, put them in the spotlight. I won't say rifle scope because that would be inappropriate. Put them in the spotlight every single day. Oh my God, the MAGAs are going to lose their fucking
I know.
mind.
I'm like, bring me back on camera for that part.
Yeah, whatever. They're gonna lose their minds. Whatever. But you got to keep these people under the microscope. You've got to keep the attention on them. There's a reason today that Trump had a panicky cabinet meeting and told all of his secretaries in the cabinet, you make your decisions on hiring and programs, not Elon. There's a reason Elon got called to Congress yesterday and had to meet with the Republicans and tell them, oh, just call me if you want me to uncancel a program. Which, by the way, gives away the whole bullshit of Doge. Because now if a congressman calls me and goes, hey, I need you to restore the funding for my, subsidies for this agriculture program at Dickwad, Mississippi, Alabama, or Dickwad, Mississippi Community College, Elon's going to restore it. It's all politics. It's all to blow up the rest of the world and to save MAGA's ass. So look, the fight is urgent. Treat it that way. That's all I got on that.
Thank you. Agree.
And scene.
Well, and here's the thing about Doge, and it's incredibly inefficient, right? And
You mean
this idea
Doge, which is
that-
run by Elon Musk, as verified by President Donald J. Trump?
Exactly. It's like he runs it, he doesn't run it. And this is the thing, it's like he doesn't run it. Wink, wink, right? Like, so he's now saying that they have to go through him. But here's the thing, it's still just distracting from the point that it was never about efficiency. It's about destruction and breaking things. And so anytime people try to point to the fact that it's about inefficient, look at him watching the breaking of things. I mean, I'm just ready for him to just do the thumbs down and have Trump pulled out of there. I don't know, just replace him right then and there in the middle of the joint session.
So since I'm already in trouble tonight, a shockingly high percentage of Roman emperors were murdered by the Praetorian Guard. Just apropos of nothing.
So it's like related to nothing that we're talking about right now at all.
Classics will get to you. Sometimes that shit just pops out of your brain.
It does.
Anyway, no, I think you're right. I mean, it is a sort of thumbs up, thumbs down imperial vibe that is not American. Is not how Americans have understood this world.
Well, and it's not just Americans, it's people outside of America, because there was a general order of operations and a way of doing things that led to lasting peace, and that is being completely disrupted. And so this whole thing with tariffs, the reason for the tariffs at one point was like, to pressure Canada and pressure China about fentanyl, but then it's also to raise money so that we don't have to pay income taxes. But then they'll go ahead and take away the tariffs and then put the tariffs back, and none of it is making sense. It's all starting to spiral.
Look, it was never about fentanyl, folks. Let's just be very clear about that. It was never about fentanyl. That was his leverage point that he thought was going to play well with the immigration crowd, which is the majority of his base. This guy has a system of economic beliefs that if I looked at you straight in the camera and said, instead of being a pro-democracy advocate, I'm going to take up necromancy and I'm going to study the ancient grimoires of Eastern Europe to learn how to raise the dead. That is as valid as Donald Trump's belief that tariffs can work. It is as cuckoo as believing that we have somehow the ability to seal off America from the rest of the world and build everything here and that no one will get hurt by it. Or alternatively, that we will make trillions of dollars from the tariffs, we'll be so rich. By the way, speaking of cognitive dissonance, Maya, if tariffs are going to make us so rich, why is he holding off on them?
Exactly.
I mean,
they're supposed to make us so rich. Doge is supposed to save us so much money. We're all supposed to get $5,000 checks.
We're going to get rid of the IRS.
Show me the money. I think that's what Republicans voters need to start saying right now to their Republicans who don't want to show up at the town hall. Say, show us the money that you keep promising us. And we have this idea. So tariffs obviously are passed along to the consumer. I say obviously because it feels like it should be obvious. No company is going to go, gee, how can we cut down on our margins and make less money? That's just not happening. They're passing it on to the consumer, and it's affecting people already. There's at a car dealership, an auto dealership, he was talking about how this is affecting already the prices of cars on the lot. And we can't just automatically have factories in the US and having everything be built here. That is just not realistic. And Donald Trump acts like somehow by adding this pressure that these factories are just going to pop up in the U.S. and
there's so many car factories being built right now, which is, of course, as you can all imagine, the equivalent of Donald Trump saying, "I'm sending you a check,"
and it's not happening. No one's getting that check. We have a clip of Trudeau.
It's really telling, I think.
Yeah.
I want to speak first directly to the American people. We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you. As of this morning, markets are down, and inflation is set to rise dramatically all across your country. Your government has chosen to put American jobs at risk, at the thousands of workplaces that succeed because of materials from Canada or because of consumers in Canada, or both. They've chosen to raise costs for American consumers on everyday essential items like groceries and gas, on major purchases like cars and homes, and everything in between. They've chosen to harm American national security, impeding access to the abundant critical minerals, energy, building materials, and fertilizers that we have and that the United States needs to grow and prosper. They've chosen to launch a trade war that will, first and foremost, harm American families. They've chosen to sabotage their own agenda that was supposed to usher in a new golden age for the United States. And they've chosen to undermine the incredible work we've done together to tackle the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that must be wiped from the face of the earth. So on that point, let me be crystal clear. There is absolutely no justification or need whatsoever for these tariffs today.
I like the fact that he's placing blame where blame needs to be placed. Like that is a very easy thing to do right now, which is what
Isn't that
Democrats
something?
need to do.
And by the way, when you and I think both agree, we're not talking about having a screaming tone about this. We're talking about the real issues, because the urgency of those issues is so pendant and so hot that, I mean, I think he caught it very clearly. I thought that was a very well delivered way to go at the danger that these tariffs and Trump's insane international behavior bring up.
Well, and it's speaking directly to the American people. Like he's speaking to the American people. And that's really all I want from Democrats, is to speak to us, because we're feeling it. People are feeling it now at the grocery store. They're feeling the chaos. And so if you don't speak to what they are feeling, it feels like we're being gaslit, and nobody wants to be gaslit. That is not going to drive voters to the polls at the next election. Like we have special elections coming up, and that means we need to be very specific about who is harming people right now and how it is harming them. And that's it. That's it. That's the clarity that people are begging for right now.
You know, these tariffs are going to be enormously damaging. And we talked about the car dealer spot. Let's show that clip, and then we'll move to the next segment. Because, folks, the tariffs are enormously damaging, but luckily Trump is such a flake. He's having a hard time keeping them focused because the markets hate them so much. Anyway, let's play that clip, because this is where real people in MAGA world suddenly get it. Watch how this Fox guy reacts to this. It's amazing.
I sold order for a customer, $80,000 truck. It's $100,000 now, so he's not going to buy the truck. It's going to sit on my lot at the higher interest rates we're paying right now for floor plan, and nobody's going to buy the truck because it just had a $20,000 price increase.
Right. Kelley Blue Book will put the number up. They say the average vehicle will go up by about $3,000. Does it sound right to you?
No, it will not. We don't have the broad stroke. We don't have the linear, the tight strokes. But to me, it's a 25% tariff. So that affects our parts that come from over these countries, and a whole bunch of our cars.
And you've been basing your business model on free trade, basically. This is what the American Automakers Policy Council says, Maria, in response to this. They say our American automakers invested billions in the U.S. to meet the requirements of the current free trade agreement. They shouldn't have their competitiveness undermined by tariffs that'll raise the cost of building vehicles in the U.S. and stymie investment in the American workforce, while competitors from the outside of North America benefit. The German, there's no tariff on the German cars coming in now.
No, they're Japanese. They're going to be okay, but think about it. We built our business around that. The OEMs built their business around that, and now it changes on a dime, and we can't build a $4 billion plant overnight in the United States. So I think building in the United States is great. I think enhancing the participation from the other countries on the other things, but this is pretty radical.
I hear you.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, but like the auto dealerships are the automakers, are they the radical left? I'm just
Yeah, most of those automakers are George Soros sponsored Antifa sleeper cells. and they really are seeking to do nothing more than to either get you in this beautiful brand new 2025 GMC Suburban, or they seek to seize the means of production and burn capitalism to the ground and stir its ashes with their boots. One of the two. I don't know. What do you think? It's just like, trying to box these people as the bad guys, and trying to box them as MAGA will. When someone defies them, like Amy Coney Barrett did this week, they go insane. So I'm sure that poor guy is getting death threats right now. I'm sure that poor guy is getting, beat up by his friends, like, oh, I heard you're now a communist socialist cuck and blah, blah, blah. But this stuff is cutting into America, y'all. Farmers are talking about this. Construction people are talking about this. You've got, there's a quote up on the screen right now from Scott Bessent, who's the Secretary of the Treasury. I will say it sounded better in French when it was "let them eat cake." But if you're Scott Bessent saying shit like this in public, if I were y'all, I'd look into an ETF for your retirement account that invests heavily in guillotines, tumbrils, pitchforks, torches, etc. Because that shit, telling Americans, oh, you don't have a right to inexpensive goods. Maybe you don't have that right. But Scott Bessent is a guy who has never worried for a hot millisecond of his life about whether he's going to go to Target and his ATM card works. Okay. This is a guy so wildly out of touch. He makes Jared Kushner look like the common man.
Well, and isn't that what they campaigned on, about the American dream not being accessible and affordable?
I did hear quite a bit about groceries and gas had made the American dream so unaffordable that Joe Biden must be cast from this earth. And now I hear much more about Gaza and Greenland and tax cuts for Elon Musk.
Yeah, and that's just strange for a entire party that said that they were going to focus specifically on the American people and on the American people's needs, and not.
One is amazed, isn't it ironic that all of these guys who talk so much, and Steve Bannon is always this populist BS, like, oh, these elites don't understand the little people in America, and we're gonna throw them out, and yet you have a quote from a guy basically mocking Americans who are having a hard time paying their grocery bills and their gas bills right now. I mean, I would triple dog dare Scott Bessent to go say that to a working family in the suburbs of St. Louis right now. Go out there, motherfucker. Go see what real people think. Go see how happy they are about tariffs driving the price of a car up 25%. Or tariffs driving the price of fertilizer and thus food up by 25 or 35 or 50%. Because all these things ramify out and cause more damage over time. But look, again, necromancy is a more valid science than tariffs. So, and nobody pursues necromancy, thank God. All of this is a lesson. This guy, Donald Trump, does not understand the economy. He is not a good businessman. He's not a good negotiator. He doesn't understand money. He's the only son of a bitch that I've ever heard of who bankrupted a casino twice.
Yeah, those are supposed to be a safe bet.
An organization that is mathematically guaranteed to take money from people who do not understand mathematics. That's why I don't gamble. I know math. Anyway, moving on. To more excitement, humiliation, terror, and a crushing sense of despair.
Yeah, well, okay. But speaking of not being a good negotiator and a terrible businessman, one of the things that people supposedly love about him is, that he was a good negotiator, and he said he was going to end the war on day one. He was actually going to end the war before he even became president. He was I'm going to be president-elect.
So easy. Day one, You would have never done this with me in office because I would have been too busy giving Vladimir Putin a long, oiled foot massage.
But we all saw what
Staff
happened.
gonna rebel.
I was going to say, but we all
All
saw
our
it.
production people right now are no doubt like,
Yeah, no, it's
all HR.
yeah. It's too much. What happened in the Oval is I don't know anybody who wasn't absolutely furious over
Sure.
what they saw, except for maybe Republicans. Like, but
Look, even
else-
most Republicans, and here's an amazing piece of intel I got. I was told by somebody who was with Lindsey Graham shortly after that he was trying to find a way to get a message to Zelensky, like this was all a show. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it. And then he literally walked onto a set and said, "Oh, Donald Trump is brilliant. Zelensky has to leave office unless he comes back and shines Donald's shoes and does a dance." A lot of them know how bad it was. Certainly, a lot of our allies know how bad it was because they've decided to start rearming. And Marco Rubio sat in that office. And again, and I've told people this a lot. I was a supporter of Marco when he ran for U.S. Senate, a supporter of Marco when he ran for president. I worked for a super PAC by a bunch of people in California who absolutely loved Marco. And we're going to put $20 million into Marco until he capitulated. Watching him sit on that couch, the son of Cuban immigrants, a man whose family left Cuba, a man who made the center of his political career the passionate advocacy for freedom and against dictatorship and authoritarians around the world, sat on that couch, and you could see every last shred of his soul leaving his body. The most miserable, grinding humiliation I think I've ever witnessed of a political figure. And Trump knew it. Trump had so much fun with that idea. That was the icing on the cake of humiliating Zelensky, was humiliating Rubio. And he went and he did it again at the speech. I mean, he really put Marco under the gun at the speech and said, "Oh, we know who to blame." Do we have that clip? I don't know if we have that clip or not.
And we have Marco Rubio in charge. Good luck, Marco. Now, we know who to blame if anything goes wrong. Marco's been amazing, and he's going to do a great job. Think of it. He got 100 votes.
Marco's thinking to himself, sitting in that picture, thinking to himself, "Come, sweet meteor of death, plunge through the ceiling. Take me now." Because that was Trump. Marco's been sidelined at the State Department anyway, but that was Trump rubbing it in how much he controls this guy, how much he belittles this guy. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I think we've lost Maya. So we will continue, and I will continue to do this show. We'll do it live. So look, what this means, essentially, this realignment that Trump has done, and obviously we've had this week since this happened. NATO is broken. It's probably dead. The good news is Europe is standing up. A lot of the capacity that we've taken away from the Ukrainians, we've canceled their shipments of their arms that they've paid for. We've canceled intelligence cooperation because Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian spy and an agent of Russia. I'm increasingly convinced of that. NATO is now splitting off and becoming a European defense force. We have blown 75 years of unbelievable security success and diplomatic success by abandoning NATO. We are now a part of the Axis. This would be like in World War II if Roosevelt said, those Japanese did bomb Pearl Harbor, but I'm going to join Hitler after all. None of it should make sense to you or feel good. This is a sick, truly, truly depraved move by Trump. And I believe strongly it's going to backfire in the end. It's already roiled the markets. It's already caused a lot of anger and anxiety in the markets. But look, you can see one illustration that's more important domestically for a second. How did Fox News spin it? Should always be one of your first questions. So you'll know what the MAGA audience got after this. It was blame Zelensky because Trump couldn't be an impulsive weirdo man-child. It has to be Zelensky's fault, right? Let's play that clip. Or not.
Or not.
Actually, let's play the other clip of Marco we have. I know we have another clip of Marco. This is 10 years ago. Just compare and contrast.
When the Soviet Union fell in the early 1990s, Ukraine was left with the world's third largest stockpile of tactical nuclear weapons and strategic nuclear weapons on the planet. But they signed this agreement with the United States, the United Kingdom, and Russia that basically said, if you give up your nuclear weapons, we, these three countries that signed to this, will provide for your defense and assure you of your defense. And so Ukraine did that. They gave up these weapons. One of the three countries that signed that agreement hasn't just not provided for their defense, they actually invaded them. What kind of lesson do you think this instance sends to them? I think the message this is sending to many nations around the world is perhaps we can no longer count on the security promises made by the free world. Perhaps we need to start looking out for ourselves.
We can't be trusted.
No, we really can't. We've burned the trust of the world in what America is and what they could rely on. We have burned an ally to whom we have treaty obligations. We have burned an ally in order to put Donald Trump on the side of Daddy Vladdy. And it is so perverse and sick and wrong and weird that historians are going to look at this for generations and say, this is one of the places where America went wrong. This is one of the places where it all went off the rails. This is one of the places where a more unstable world is the result of one meeting, one action. I don't think that we're ever going to see the Republican Party credibly claim to be the party of national security ever again, because they don't care about our national security. Our national security has largely been guaranteed because of strong alliances like NATO and because of soft power like USAID.
Mm-hmm.
And Maya, the folks I've talked to in Europe in the last 6 days, some of whom are folks I've worked with in the past, some of whom I know for decades, all of whom are mostly in politics or intelligence or the military space or retired from it or or elected officials. They're mortified. They can't understand what Putin has on him. They can't figure it out. And yet, the old rule of NATO was keep the Russians out and the Germans in and down. But now, France and Germany and everybody else in Europe is going to rearm. They're going to tool up fast. Many countries are going to get nuclear weapons that did not have them before. Countries that can easily do it will do it. And a technologically sophisticated country like Germany, they could have nuclear weapons in a space of months or weeks if they wanted them. Because the world now only cares about one thing. Can you retaliate in the worst possible way? Because that's the only logic that Putin will listen to. And it's going to produce a very unstable world and a dangerous world. And Donald Trump isn't helping because he's put America on the side of evil. And I don't want folks watching tonight to think that this is all said and done, because here's an upside note for you. Vladimir Putin has killed 1 million of his men in 3 years to capture a few square miles of Ukraine. He has had 3,000 of his approximately 4,000 tanks, frontline tanks, destroyed. He has lost 2/3 of his fighter aircraft. He has lost submarines, ships, everything. Nothing about this war has gone Putin's way. He is teetering. The Russian economy is in the dumper. Europe is about to take the $200 billion of seized assets from Russian oligarchs, who are all Putin's cronies and allies. Take that $200 billion they've seized and give it to Ukraine. Putin is in a much less stable and robust position than you think. There is a world in which Europe and Ukraine triumph over Putin and break him. That is a world that is more peaceful and more stable, but it is not a world that is an American world anymore. I'm okay at this point If they want to do that, if Europe wants to take the lead, God bless them, because somebody has to. And there's a world where Putin's fragility, like all dictators, he looks impervious until he's not. He looks like he's absolutely covered in steel until he's not. Trump is that guy. Putin is that guy. The fall of both are now linked inextricably, and every day I'm going to work to make sure that they do. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, and I think the sad part of all of this for me is that this could have been easily averted if people had have exercised the right that so many people fought and died for. And so this idea that Donald Trump has a mandate to completely dismantle the world order as we know it is just not true.
Insane.
It's not the case. And so the American people, we need to come together and remember that there are, in fact, more of us who would like peace and stability and don't want to live with chaos than there are people who actually voted for it. And so that is going to require a come to Jesus moment, I believe, for many people right now. And so again, I ask you to afflict the comfortable people in your life who do not realize that their comfort relies on a engagement, a civic engagement that they have ignored. They've ignored their duty to their country. You can't just expect cheap goods. Apparently anymore. That whole thing of everything just running on autopilot, just like Elon Musk's cars don't work on autopilot, really, neither does our democracy. So we have to work for it, y'all.
You're so right, Maya. You're absolutely correct. And folks, look, it is not just voting. I wish 10 million of you had come out and voted that didn't, who either decided that Kamala wasn't perfect, therefore you weren't going to vote for her, or got scared off by stupid ads about trans people that were meant to frighten people in a example of unbelievable cruelty. But you got to speak out. You got to stand up. You have to be public about your opposition to the country they're trying to build. You have to call your congressman. I know, for those of you watching, some of you are in very red states and districts. I still want you to call your congressman. I still want you to send a letter or an email to your congressman and say, you need to vote the right way to save us. Don't vote with Trump. Don't vote with Elon. Do the right thing for veterans, for families. Do the right thing for this country. Your responsibility isn't just to the founders didn't just expect citizens to roll out of bed and vote every 2 or 4 years. They expected them to be vibrant and active in their lives and their community. I know some of you are tired. We're all tired. I know some of you don't think you have the spare time to do it. You got to do it. This is an important citizenship lesson for all of us right now, because right now we are governed by fools and madmen and idiots. And that choice was made by too many Americans this last time around. But if you'd like the luxury of just having to vote a couple times, every 2 years, that's great. But right now you don't have that luxury. We got to get to work. Thanks, folks.
Yes, please. Get to work.
Also, by the way, while we're doing this, I just got a breaking news alert from my aviation app. Right now, there are no flights into Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, and Orlando because space launch debris is raining down over Florida since Elon's rocket blew up tonight.
And on that note,
don't worry, he's in charge of the government.
Yeah. So it's like, I hope that's not a metaphor. May it not rain down on us. Well,
Maya, a pleasure as always. I will see you same bat time, same bat channel, as they used to say when I was a youngin'. And we will go at this again, folks. Keep your heads up. It's always darkest just before the world plunges into an abyss, but we will be there in that abyss waiting for the bad guys. See you soon.